Kia ora. Welcome to Conversations with Wahine, brought to you by the Wellington branch of the National Council of Women, New Zealand.
Hi everyone, I'm Ash and today I'm joined with Hayley. How are you, Hayley?
I'm great. Looking forward to the interview.
Me too. Today we are joined by Caitlin Taylor, who is a personal stylist and style coach that helps you to learn to appreciate the body you have and to be confident in making the right style choices that make you feel amazing. Caitlin has degrees in both psychology and journalism and knows the way that we think and talk about our bodies and our style can have a lasting impact on us. She has an extensive background in the fashion industry, including working with both high-end designers and mainstream chain stores in all facets of the business. Her goal is to help you understand the power that fashion has to make you feel good. Welcome, Caitlin. It's so good to have you.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. Excited to be here.
We have so many questions. I'm really looking forward to it. But before we kind of jump into more of the fashion specific questions, we're really interested. You have a degree in psychology and journalism. How did you then make the move into fashion?
Yeah, correct. Well, psych kind of came out of school. I actually wanted to be a sports psychologist back in the day. So did a double major in psychology and a single major in human movement studies. So really fascinated in actually helping elite athletes recover from injury. So I think there was always this motivation to help people and change mindsets, right? And work on mindset. But always loved clothes, like always loved clothes. And when I finished my degree, I didn't really want to do more study to actually then qualify to be a registered psychologist. So my dad at the time, this is a really long-winded story as to why I have 2 degrees, but my dad is actually a journalism and communication professor. And I wrote my final assignment for my first degree, a 3,000 word assignment. I wrote the day it was due, which is, don't recommend, children, don't recommend. And he said, have you considered writing maybe as a career? So I actually went straight from a psych degree into, started a master's in journalism. And I kind of went, well, if I'm doing a master's in journalism, why don't I write about things I love, which was fashion. So all my papers and things were fashion based. And then through the grapevine, actually got a job in fashion, like through someone's friend's cousin's flatmate's uncle, and left the degree halfway through to go and work in fashion. But 10 years later, actually came back and finished my final year of my master's thesis and actually wrote my thesis on professional practice in fashion blogging, because 10 years later, fashion blogs were a thing. I had one. So it kind of is all interlinked, even though it doesn't sound like it is. So that kind of mindset piece, helping people change their mindset through to fashion and writing about fashion, and then having a blog myself and then finishing the degree based on the blog is kind of that holistic story. So in a nutshell, that's where those two degrees come from.
It makes sense when you say it, isn't it? You know, the mindset element of it totally makes sense when you explain it like that.
Really does. And dealing with women and their mental state around their bodies every day, I can't think of a better underlying base degree to have, because like one of the things I say quite often is confidence in style is 10% the clothes you have and 90% mindset. So if I can work at shifting that mindset in women, and if it just shifts 1% to the positive, then I've done a good thing that day. So yeah, mindset's huge.
I'll be really interested to know what your first job in fashion was and how that led you to where you are now.
So I worked for a beautiful brand in Queensland, from Brisbane. I'm from Brisbane originally. There's an up and coming brand called Sasha Drake that had just started. This is probably I want to say like 17 years ago now. And they were looking for a general assistant. So there was 2 staff, Sasha and kind of her sidekick, and they were looking for general staff member. And I think the actual my best friend had a connection there and recommended me. And I remember going in for a job interview, and there was one other person there too, and the 2 of us were kind of there at the same time, almost like a trial. And I felt so intimidated because this other person that was there just was chatting away and she knew all the people in the industry. And I'm just like sitting there folding dresses going, oh my God, I so haven't got this job. And turns out I got the job because I just went head down, bum up and did the work. Whereas the other chick was too busy like chatting. So yeah, so I actually got this really amazing job. Like the job that I had, I was with this company for a decade on and off. And it grew. I think there was 20 staff by the time I left. And so I went from being staff member number 3. I saw so many facets of how a label worked. You know, it was Australian made, Australian designed. I watched Sasha design. I watched her drape fabric. We all fitted every single garment, every single way. So even though I started out in like customer service and production and assisting, and I've folded so many dresses and packed so many dresses in my life and ironed samples and, you know, I did all the jobs. But because I'd come from a journalism or a communication degree background, they kind of trained me up in the PR side of things. So I did the PR and the customer service, and then I moved to Sydney and did PR down there and then came back. So I've kind of worked in all these different elements of fashion. So that job gave me so much exposure to the industry in general. Brisbane and Queensland fashion is very much like New Zealand fashion. It's really small and really tight knit, and everyone knows everybody, but in a really beautiful way. Like everyone is so supportive of everybody. There's no competition. So it was a really amazing place to cut my teeth, I guess, in the fashion industry because everyone was just so kind, and still is. Like it's an amazing scene over in Brisbane in the fashion industry, like New Zealand. So much more like hitting way above its weight, like, you know, just doing amazing things for such a small industry. So yeah, it was such a great start to really get an idea about how the industry worked.
That's so cool. I'd love to know what your most meaningful moments in the industry has been so far. Obviously, you've got about 20 years experience, so I'm sure there's a lot of interesting moments you can pull from.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, across my career, I guess it's things like, you know, with that brand that I worked with, Sasha Drake, I helped open her first retail store as well. So taking that knowledge that we had from a wholesale perspective and then taking it to retail, taking it directly to customers and being a part of that very first store setup was amazing. So much so as well that she actually flew me back I'd moved to New Zealand at the time. She flew me back to open her second store in Sydney. So, you know, her trusting me that much with her brand was super exciting. And again, that was probably 11 years ago now. I guess then down the track as a personal stylist, one of the big highlights of my career is working with Kiwibank. They actually commissioned me last year to create a whole bunch of content for their in-house staff when they transitioned over to the new Kiwibank wardrobe, the new kind of their retail uniform. So that was an amazing experience to work with a company on that scale and you know, reach that 4,000 staff watched the content, watched the videos that I created. So that was amazing. And then my latest highlight is I've actually taken on a position as the lead designer for a New Zealand-based brand called Harry and Sam, which is actually super fresh and super new news. You guys probably didn't even know that. Yeah, I think I told you. So that's a huge. So on top of my styling business, I've just completed the first season designing Harry and Sam as well. So yeah, pretty cool stuff when you think about it like that.
Yeah, what goes into designing? So do you kind of pull inspiration from places, or I'm sure you don't do any of the sewing, but you must do a lot of consultation.
Cannot sew to save myself. Like I can't draw either. That's the irony of the whole thing, right? I never thought I could be a fashion designer because I can't draw. And there's this whole thing, like I was at school and I didn't think I was creative because I couldn't draw. And then like 30 years later, in a creative industry, which is super cool. So the design process, Harry and Sam's an existing brand. So I've taken over that role. And so what's quite cool in the design process is I've kind of taken, because I've worked with the brand kind of in a styling capacity and in a content creation capacity for a long time. So I'm really familiar with it. And so what's happened, I guess, is I've taken their existing aesthetic and who they're trying to approach and the fabrics they use and existing styles, and then just added my own take, but still understanding the brand and the background of what Harry and Sam provides. So yeah, looking, I guess, using my clients as inspiration, and that's where it's a really cool synergy, because I have women going, I need X in my wardrobe, and I'm like, let me write that down and try and get that made for you. So this really cool connection between what women actually want and need in their wardrobes, and then making that happen kind of with the design process. So it's very much like, oh yeah, like collating pictures and color palettes, and then going and sourcing fabrics, and then getting an amazing team to kind of put it all together. So yeah, I can't sew, I can't draw, but I can go, can you put that sleeve on that dress and make it in this fabric? Thank you.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who are wanting to up their content creation? For example, new designers. I'd love to know if you have any tips on that.
Yeah, consistency is key. So in that content creation space, and being yourself, being really authentic. I kind of have 3 pillars I try and base all my content on. So if you can be entertaining, educating, or inspiring, or all 3 at the same time, which is pretty tricky. That's like the kind of the golden trifecta. But each piece of content you want to be educating, inspiring, or entertaining. And just being really consistent. And that doesn't necessarily mean once a day, but if you're going to post once a week, post twice a week, post at the same time every day, whatever that is. And just be yourself, and don't worry about it being perfect. I think that's the whole thing around content, is it's just that you got to feed the machine, unfortunately, but just getting stuff up and getting stuff out there doesn't have to be highly edited or highly, put together. Just couple of stories, couple of little videos and that kind of stuff. But consistency is key, and authenticity is key when it comes to content creation, and when it comes to kind of getting out there. Also, numbers aren't actually the be all and end all of content creation. So if you've got a really cool, engaged audience, that is the people that you want to speak to, then it doesn't matter if you've got 500 people or you've got, 50,000 people. I guarantee you, most of the people who've got 50,000 people, their audience is spread across a whole bunch of ages, demographics, all that kind of stuff. And actually, if you narrow it down, sometimes if a brand's trying to work with a content creator, the people they're trying to reach are very small in that bigger number as well, if that makes sense. So numbers aren't everything. Don't feel like you have to have 10,000 followers to have impact.
Yeah, when you were starting your own brands, I'd be interested to know, what are your maybe top 3 things that you noticed just boosted your brands, like whether it be content creation or photography? Yeah, I like to know.
Yeah. So back in the day, there was no Instagram or Facebook when I started. I had a blog. So I think just, when social media came about, we would just use it to promote our blog. So definitely social media has been a part of it. Networking has been huge for me. So when I moved to New Zealand, I pretty much had started my business in Australia, moved to New Zealand, worked for a brand, went, this is not for me, wanted to restart my business here. And I went networking. I joined a women's networking group, and I've still got friends that I made that very first day that I went to that first networking group. And I've only just left the group, but due to not be having the time, I'm too busy now, which is awesome. So networking is huge. And I think just really surrounding yourself with the people that can support you. So one of the best decisions I made for my brand was to bring in a business coach. And she has just seen me and just helped me really shape what I want my business to be. And I've just seen my business probably in the last 2 or 3 years just kind of grow in leaps and bounds as well. So I would definitely say, like, find your people on social media. So I'm only on Instagram and Facebook because that's where my people are. My husband keeps banging on about me about being on TikTok. He's in digital marketing, and he's like, you should be on TikTok. I'm like, if you can show me that women in their 40s and 50s in New Zealand are on TikTok, then I will go on TikTok. But right now, they're on Instagram and Facebook, so I'm staying on Instagram and Facebook. I ain't got too many channels. I have enough brain space. So find your tribe, find your people, find where your ideal client or ideal customer or ideal person is. When it comes to socials, networking is huge for me. And I can't remember what my third one was again. Can you guys remember what it was? Oh, business coach.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people that I'm like, surround yourself with people that support you and uplift you. Like create your kind of business village for sure.
It's almost having that investment in yourself early on, you know, belief in yourself and putting yourself out there, I think. And that's often the most daunting thing, I think, especially for young women who are really interested in getting into this industry.
Just do it. Just do it. The other thing is that, like, if you want to get a leg or a foot in the door in fashion, start in retail. Like I worked in retail for so many years, and so much of my skill set and my knowledge about how clothes fit, how fabrics perform, how sizing works, how women react to things. So much of that was learnt on a retail floor. And even when I moved to New Zealand, I went back to retail while I grew my business up here again. So it got to the point I'd work 3 days in retail and 4 days on the business, and then 2 days in retail and 5 days in the business. So, you know, even if you are wanting to go into another avenue, often as well, you can work your way up a business from a retail floor. So if you want to get into, regional management or into some sort of head office space, a lot of those staff in the local head offices are pulled from the retail floor. So retail's such a great, it's our trade. So in the fashion industry, retail is actually our trade. So yeah, if people are wanting to start out, go get a job somewhere in the mall.
That's really good advice, actually, because I think sometimes it's like with hospitality or retail, it can be looked down on. But I mean, the skills you learn are so core. And as you say, it can be a stepping stone to other things if you want it. There's just so much you can learn. Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice, especially for younger people who are just trying to get that first step in the door.
Yeah, totally. Even if it's someone coming back from, they want to change in career, or they've had children and they want to get back into something different. And you'll find like some of the kind of main high street stores I work with, they've got really well trained staff. Like I really rate, like Max have exceptional staff. They're really highly trained. They're really helpful. They're not all young. They've got that experience. A lot of them have come back after having kids or want a career change, but they've got that knowledge and they're just super helpful. So like you said, I think looking down on I'm always super nice to retail staff because I was one. But also their skill set is, yeah, like you said, it's definitely a skill to be good at retail for sure.
Because I was just going to say, immediately when you were talking about that, I thought of Max, the one in Wellington.
It's so good, eh? Yeah.
There was a woman in there and I was like, she was just so good, put you at ease, and immediately picked out things. I was like, I don't know, looked amazing. Like it's a real gift.
Is that the one on Lambton Quay, the Max on Lambton Quay? Yes, I was in there with clients like 3 times in 3 days in the last year, and the staff were amazing. We were like BFFs by the time I left. It was so good.
They are so good. Yeah. And it really does make a difference, especially it can be intimidating, you know, if your body's changed, and it's also that transitional thing. If you're moving into that different age, like when I moved here, you know, it took me quite a while to figure out that shop from what my style was evolving to, because I'm like, oh, well, I'm gone past the glass and crop tops. I can't do that anymore. But then other stuff, I'm like, oh, that feels too old. And having someone who puts you at ease in the shop makes such a difference.
100%. And that's where, again, if you're wanting to get in, like so many retail staff always say to me, like, oh, how did you get into styling? And I'm like, well, I started off where you are, because I'm just kind of doing the same thing. I'm just taking the woman to the different shops. You're just having the women come to you in the one shop. So I think if you're wanting to progress your career in styling, whether it's editorial, whether it's personal, whether it's shoots, having that just getting that experience on the shop floor is just crucial. It will put you in such good stead.
Do you want to ask the next one, Hayley?
Yeah, sure. If you want me to. I don't think you asked this, Aisling. Like, what would you suggest for those of us who might be interested in working? I'm not sure.
I was just going to say we could skip that one because we kind of went through the networking and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's where the confusion is. All right, then. In that case, we'll jump to fashion trends. I would love to know 2 of your favorites and 2 you would like to see locked away in the vault.
Ooh, okay, this is tricky because I'm very much not a what not to wear person. So that comes back to the psychology and the positive language. So very much, if you want to wear what I'm going to say, like go for gold. But my 2 fashion trends that I'm loving right now are tailoring. So we're seeing a lot of tailoring coming back, almost as a, what's the word I'm looking for? As a contrast to us being in sweats for the last 3 years, COVID, right? So that need for structure and tailoring is definitely coming back. But what I'm loving is there's flexibility in fit. So the issue I've always had with tailoring is that unless you're not of that exact specification of that exact garment, your body shape isn't going to fit it, right? And that's not on you, that's on the garment. But what we're seeing now, say for instance, is a beautifully tailored pair of pants, but the back's elastic. So we've got that flexibility. So tailoring's huge for me. The other trend that I'm loving right now is red. I've got red nails if you're just listening to it. And for years I didn't wear red. I was like, oh, don't like red. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hello, red. But I love it because it's massive for autumn, winter. And so we're seeing red paired back with chocolate browns and deep grays and caramels. So there's really like rich, luxurious kind of trend of red coming through. And if red's not your vibe, you can do a red lip, a red nail, a red shoe, a red sunglasses. So if you don't want to wear like a red coat, you can still play in that trend. And that's why I love a color trend, because you can take it to the degree that you want to take it. 2 trends I would like to see locked away. And again, I'm like, this is just like me personally. Cargo pants, because I did them the first time. So I had a boss once when I was in my 20s and she was in her 40s. And I remember her saying to me, oh, if you do something the first time, you don't do it again. And I was like, whatever. I'm now in my 40s. And I'm like, preach, sister. Also cargo pants, super not that we're all about flattering, but the pockets just sit on the widest part of most of our legs. So they're not, you can feel a bit meh in them. So not a massive fan of cargo pants. And I love shoes. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope these 2 aren't wearing Crocs. I love shoes. And so Crocs for me, I'm just like, can we have some prettier shoes, please? My kids wear Crocs, like great, like awesome for like slipping over the ballet shoes on the way to ballet, etc. I love Crocs for the kids. You'll never catch me in Crocs. So yeah. But if you love Crocs or you love cargo pants, then sweet, go for it. Yay.
I think Crocs are the only shoes I've ever seen sitting outside on the road labeled free.
Yeah, not a fan, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm always amazed that Crocs have taken a comeback. I can't understand it. I'm with you.
I get it. Like they're comfy. I think that's a COVID hangover as well. Like they're comfy, they're easy, they're durable. Like I get it, but aesthetically, I just don't like them.
Are you noticing as well how it seems like trends are coming back so much faster now? You know,
Yeah,
like we're
so
back at those early noughties trend, like the low rise.
Yeah.
I mean, were we not all emotionally scarred from low rise jeans as
That's
teenagers?
the whole, like, if you did it the first time, don't do it again. Yeah, they're called micro trends. And what happens is the cycle is much faster because of social media. So because we get exposed to things more at a higher rate, we get sick of it quicker, basically. So we're like, ha ha ha, next. Yep, great, love it, next. So we're seeing what we call a micro trend kind of cycle, much more than just like, okay, well, this is the length of skirt for the next 3 years. Like, you know, it used to be decades. Like trends would take decades to roll over. Now there'll be 3 major trends in a season. And you're like, whiplash, kind of can't catch up.
Because I think when you see so many trends, yeah, especially with social media, you obviously can feel really encouraged to buy into it and you want to be on trend. But I guess how do you then manage that with your body type? Like what's your advice to people to not get sucked in by those micro trends and find a good style? And I guess on the flip side, what are the style mistakes you see people making because of maybe micro trends?
Yeah, great question. So what I work with on all my clients is understanding your own unique style foundations. So what that talks to is understanding three things: your color palette, and that's again less about, oh my God, don't wear yellow, and more about understanding how to have cohesion in your wardrobe. So if you're buying within a specific color palette, and we're talking about cool tones or warm tones, we're talking about dominant colors or muted colors. Um, if you're buying, so I'm a dominant cool. So if I'm buying predominantly dominant cool colors, it means I'm not questioning, can I wear that top with those pants? The answer should be yes. Whereas if I have this outlying shirt and I'm like, why doesn't it work with anything? Potentially it's the wrong color. So if it's a muted warm tone, it's not going to match back with anything. So that's where understanding your color is important. You can then play into the trends. Say if red's one in your color palette, then jump on red while it's here. Your next style foundation that's important to understand is your best fits. So understanding your proportion and actually working out how to highlight the parts of your body that you're the most confident about. So that, again, you're looking at, okay, well, do I like tucking things in because it does define my waist? Do I need to wear a V-neck because it shows off my boobs? Do I need a set in sleeve because it shows off my shoulders? So understanding your frame then reflects the pieces that you're picking, again, regardless of whether it's a trend or not. Third one for me, which is the most important, is understanding your unique style personality. And the way I do that with my clients is we come up with 3 words that work in conjunction together. And what I really like is when the words are kind of contrasty. So my style personality is feminine, edgy, and elevated. So I love meshing the 3 together. So what I can then do is take those style foundations, so my color palette, my best fits, and my style personality, and then I look at trends with those lenses over the top. So I will only play in the trend game if it meets all my criteria in my style foundations. So in a nutshell, having a really clear understanding of your unique style, what you like, your personal style, will then help dictate what trends that you can play with. So again, for me, cargo pants doesn't sit with my trends. It doesn't with my style personality. It's not feminine, it's not elevated. I don't know, maybe they're edgy, but they're a bit street for me. So it doesn't tick any of my boxes, doesn't suit my best fits. So I'm not going to play in that space. Whereas tailoring, I love because it, can define my waist and I can feel elevated. Red's in my color palette. So using your unique style and what you love to then pick and choose the trends that work for you is pretty much what I get all my clients to do.
That's so
Cargo
interesting.
pants have so many pockets though.
The utility of it.
Hey, I'm all for practical. If a dress doesn't have pockets, I don't want it. I'm like, where are the pockets? I get it.
The amount of times I've got a jacket and I'm like, it has pockets, and you go to open the zip and it's like, oh,
fake pockets. Is there a bigger betrayal?
No, fake pockets. I'm not here for it.
Speaking of something you may be here for, I know we're kind of battling fast fashion quite a bit these days with whole climate change coming in and so forth. How can we keep our wardrobe feeling current and fashionable without partaking in these fast fashion trends?
Yeah, again, really good question. And I think ultimately it comes back down to being really aware of your unique style. So pretty much what we were just talking about with your style foundations, understanding what talks to you, and then also doing your research. So what I really encourage my clients to think about is buying things that are value for money. So that might mean taking a moment, sitting, watching a trend happen and going, okay, do I like it? Is it going to work for me? What's the best way I can execute this? And then finding the piece that reflects the best value for money for you. So if that happens to be a pair of Kmart jeans, if that's all you can afford and you see, okay, I see the value in these jeans, I'm going to get heaps of wear out of them, then awesome. But say, for instance, a trench coat, maybe that's something that you can look at investing in because you can really see it reflecting your style. Because you've done the research and you've seen it around and you're like, okay, yeah, I see what's happening there. I can pick up on that. So it's really about taking your time a little bit, but then being really selective of what helps you feel current. The other thing that can help you feel current is your shoes. Sounds really weird, but shoes are a really affordable, quick way to update your look. So if you think about right now, we're seeing a resurgence of ballet flats, right? Which again, I think most of us who were around in the 90s are like, my feet hurt already.
Yeah.
But that ballet flat look is very much back. So you can get a pair of really good quality leather ballet flats for under $100, and that will just update your look rather than wearing, I don't know, a jandal. So having that kind of those little pieces that can update your look that won't break the bank will just help add that currency, but you're still being true to your own sense of style as well.
I think a really good point with the ballet flats, because I actually love them. I love looking as short as possible, even though my closet's mostly really high heels. I don't understand. But I found if you get good insoles on ballet flats, if you buy flats that are maybe a size too big, the insoles just
Yeah.
make them so comfortable. It's so worth it.
Totally. And even just having like a little tiny heel rather than a fully flat shoe is actually really good. And I'm definitely with you. I often buy like half a size if I can, but a full size bigger if I need to in a ballet flat, just to give your foot room to expand and just to sit nicely so you're not all kind of squished in.
Yeah,
Give me one
so
second,
good.
team.
Yeah.
Sorry. Play what?
My internet connection was cutting out. I actually missed half of your answer.
Oh. You right?
Everything just froze.
Did Aria scratch you? All right, well then just, you all right? Okay, you say hi to the girls. All right. Good girl.
I like you, Teddy.
Oh, just needed a
that's
cuddle.
That's Shimmer. Yeah, I think she was patting the cat and the cat scratched her.
Oh, I mean, that deserves a hug.
Yeah. I mean, the cat is an asshole.
It's so interesting with the fashion trends. And I think, I mean, I don't know about Auckland, but I think Wellington in particular is so good at having really good op shops here. The likes of Recycle Boutique, Honor, I mean, any of the op shops, even Salvation Army, there's really good stuff in Wellington op shops.
I love an op shop. And I think op shops are really great ways to play when it comes to your style as well. I use a lot of online consignment stores, so both to sell my own clothes and to purchase, say, brands that maybe I can't afford to pay full price for, or someone else maybe doesn't see the value in. And then I've snapped up so much kowtow secondhand. I get heaps of Trelise Cooper secondhand. So those kinds of beautiful labels that are quite expensive per piece, but they're just that little bit more affordable secondhand, and you can play because there's less pressure, I think, to be like, oh my God, this piece has to be right because I'm going to spend $500 on a coat. So I think I love an op shop. I love a consignment store. I think they're such good. And I think it's like almost, they've become cool again. Yeah. I remember my mum when I was like, I don't know, 15, would give me $20 to go down to, it's in Australia, it's called St. Vincent de Paul, like Vinnie's. We have Vinnie's, it's like the Salvos. So she'd give me $20 to go down to Vinnie's and I would have a field day. I think it was like the thrill of the hunt, almost. So I think absolutely being able to play and find pieces that are unique and that represent you. So I'm very much about, like, as much as we've talked about trends, I'm very much about people expressing their own unique sense of style. I think that's when you're going to look and feel your best, is when that you feel like you. And if that means wearing not what everybody else is wearing, then that's really important. Like, you don't have to do what everybody else does. You just have to wear what you love.
Is that something you find hard if you have someone come to you who has a completely different sense of style than you? Is that hard to then, direct them to the right places to look and not direct them to things that you are drawn to?
No, because it's my job. So I guess that's very much one of the FAQs I have on my website is like, I'm not going to make you look like me. So my job is very much, and again, that comes back, I think, from the psych background and potentially the comms background, is listening to what my clients need. And we have a really comprehensive pre-session form, and we sit down before we actually go anywhere near a shop or a wardrobe and have a really, really good chat. And I get a really good brief as to what my clients like. So yeah, my job is to kind of make them feel at ease and to listen and kind of take me out of it. So I could be wearing like a white sheet pretty much. On the flip side, a lot of clients come to me because they like my style. So, you know, there's a bunch of amazing stylists all around New Zealand. And, you know, I don't feel like we're in competition, because I feel like our clients will find the right match depending on so many things like location, cost, own sense of style. But very much it is my job to listen to what my clients need. And like, if I say on Monday, I'm shopping with a gentleman, so I'm probably not going to put him in the same clothes that I would wear. If he wants to wear a satin slip skirt, absolutely. Not like, but you know, so that, yeah, it's my job. It's like going to a hairdresser and going, well, you have brown hair, are you going to dye my hair blonde, my blonde hair brown? You know, it's my job to listen to people and actually understand what they need, rather than just reflect. And also, I don't want a bunch of mini me's. Like, I get really not funny, but if I see a look has been done a bit, I'm like, I don't want to do that now. I'm done with that. I just want to be a little bit ahead of what's going on sometimes.
No, that's cool. I get that. And I know we've talked a little bit about, you know, matching the clothes really to your style and finding what works for you. But are there some versatile things that you think are really worth investing in, and kind of key items you think people should look for in their wardrobe?
Yeah, I think having some good basics, and your interpretation of basic is what it is. So it could be like some good t-shirts. Doesn't have to be white. If you're a grub, then maybe it's black. But a good basic, because what people tend to do is one of two things. They either tend to have all the basics and what we call no wow pieces, or they have all the wow pieces and no basics. And I'm the latter. I've got all the wow, no basics. And I'm like, why would I spend $80 on a white t-shirt? I'm going to have a pink and purple polka dot one. Like, that's very much how my brain works. So a really good tees, like that kind of base structure, really good pants, whether it's jeans. And again, like, jeans are a great staple, but finding the jeans that are right for you. And I think we're seeing this. And if skinny jeans are still right for you, then power to you. Like, everyone's like, oh, down with the skinny. But if they still your favorite jeans, then who is anybody else to tell you not to wear them? So good tee, good pair of jeans. There's probably the only one particular item that I would say that is kind of like everyone needs a good one is probably a blazer. And again, it can be what you need. It could be a leather look blazer. It could be a neon pink blazer. It could be a classic black blazer. It could be a cropped metallic blazer. But having that structured jacket of some description will just help elevate almost any outfit. So you could be wearing literally jeans and a t-shirt, add a blazer, takes it to next level. You could be wearing a fun little summer dress, add a blazer, take it to next level. You could be wearing a tracksuit, add a blazer, takes it to the next level. So blazer is probably a real key piece for me. The other thing I always say to people, particularly coming into winter, if you've got one good pair of boots and one good pair of trainers, you'll pretty much go anywhere. So if you were to create a capsule, good t-shirt, good pair of jeans, good blazer, good pair of trainers, good pair of boots. My top five.
That's
Nice.
I wear none of those like any of the time. No, I'm kidding. I don't do jeans a lot though. Jeans aren't the best on my body shape, so I'd prefer to wear like a high-waisted wide leg pant or a dress, but I don't do a lot of jeans. Even though I'm like, yeah, it's a basic that everyone should have.
I found that myself a little while ago, as far as the wow factor clothes come. I'd find that just going to the supermarket, I didn't have anything casual, so I'd go to the supermarket and people are like, oh, where are you going? And it's like, oh, I'm just
to the supermarket
here.
yeah I am that mum that will wear a sequin skirt to school pickup, because why not? Like, why not? Don't take the good for good though. Like, if you love the clothes, ultimately if you love the clothes, wear them.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like life's too short. If I have nice clothes, I want to wear it.
100%.
Totally.
Even at home, like sometimes just wearing some lipstick, wearing some nice clothes, it makes you feel so good about yourself.
Getting dressed was a fundamental mental health necessity for me by the end of COVID.
Yeah.
I had to get dressed because in those days and weeks where I didn't, I also had a baby over COVID. So, and abdominal surgery. So COVID was fun and then not fun and then fun and then not fun for me. But I found the days when I didn't get dressed, I would just spiral downwards. So that little thing of just being actually getting up and getting dressed and going, I'm going to share what I'm wearing today because I need to do something, was huge, particularly at the end, was really, really, really important for me, to get up and get dressed. And the power it had on my mental health was massive.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how hard it can actually be in situations like that sometimes. For me, it wasn't so bad because I work from home. So if I want, I could walk around in a dressing gown all day. But even though you might get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and be working, if you're not dressed, sometimes you still kind of feel like you're failing a little bit.
It's a mindset thing though, hey?
Yeah.
Like it puts you in that work mindset. And even if it's like, maybe it's not whacking as much makeup on, maybe it's not doing your makeup, or maybe, but it's just having something that makes you go, I'm doing grown-up things today. It really is. It's such a mindset. Clothes have such a power to shift our mindset.
Oh, absolutely. You did mention online consignment stores before. I would love to know, just because we are shopping online more and more now, and I know you mentioned tailoring, which can probably help. But do you have any tips on how we can get the best fit and style for our body without trying these clothes on before we buy?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things. Buy what you know. So don't try and buy a new fit, shape, style without having some idea of what it looks like on your body shape. So if you love a high-waisted pant and you own several pairs, chances are the ones you're buying online are going to work on you. If that's a style you've never even tried on before, I would suggest at least going and trying some on first so you understand what they do on your body shape. That's really important. No measurements. And when I say measurements, I don't necessarily mean your measurements. That will help too. But if you're going to buy a t-shirt, get a t-shirt from your wardrobe that you love and measure it and compare it to the measurement of the thing you're buying. Because sizing can be what catches us out sometimes. Sizing's a whole other conversation, but ultimately size should just be a starting point. There's no standardized sizing in Australia and New Zealand. There hasn't been since the 50s, where the average Australian New Zealand woman was size 10. The average Australian New Zealand woman is now a size 14, 16. So sizing has shifted dramatically. So size is a starting point, but if you understand the measurements of things that fit you well, oh, some celebration stuff going on there in the background on our Zoom. If you understand,
I guess that's how you feel when you find something that fits well.
Yay! Some random fireworks just appeared on my Zoom screen, team. I don't know what's going on there. But if you understand how things fit you that you already own and then compare it to the measurement online, that's really helpful. Buy from places that you're familiar with. So if you're nervous about buying online, buy brands that you know, buy brands that you already wear. And the other thing is, again, it comes back to those style foundations. So they're called style foundations because every single decision that you make about your style should be built on them. So if you understand your color palette, filter by color. So I can go in and go, I want pink, I want purple, I want blue, I want white, and I filter by color. I understand that there's certain things that don't necessarily work as well on my body shape. I don't love a shoestring strap. I don't love a drop shoulder. So I'll generally avoid those things. And then if something reflects my style, like that's that filter. So you're actually physically using your style foundations filters to filter what you're shopping online. The other practical thing is check the returns policy, because if it's really easy to return, chances are you're more likely to return it if it doesn't work. Whereas if it's a big rigmarole, you're going to have that pile of clothes that sits there that you don't quite know what to do with, etc., and that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're probably my best tips is buy what you know, understand your measurements, understand your style foundations, and check the returns policy.
I love that tip of measuring something you love. That's so obvious, and I've never thought of doing that. That's a really good tip.
Yeah, because I think that we do our body measurements, and often you'll find, so what you need to check is what the measurements that they're providing online, you need to check what they are providing. So they'll either say garment laid flat, or they'll say else. They'll say like, model's body shape or something like that. So you need to actually check what you're measuring, and then work out, and then look at the reviews, because it might say runs large, runs small, and buy things that have flexibility and fit. So make sure that there's some stretch or some give, or it's a relaxed style or that kind of thing as well.
And do you think those are kind of almost similar tips that you would give for people who are trying to shop on a budget, that understanding those core foundations? The same thing apply if you're keeping it to a budget?
Yeah, and buy the best that you can afford, because it's going to last you longer. So I made that mistake when I moved to New Zealand. I'm from Queensland, we don't wear boots. So I went and bought a really cute, but it's quite cheap and synthetic pair of boots that I wore through in about 3 months. So I went and bought another pair of the same boots. They were great boots, bought another pair, same thing, bought another pair. I ended up buying 3 pairs of the same boots because they wore out. I could have just spent that money on a leather boot and had the boots probably for 10 years. So even if you're on a budget, and my clients have such varying budgets, buy the best that you can afford. It comes back down to value for money. So where do you see value? And it's interesting around a budget, because often I'll have a discussion with people online. I might feature something that's maybe a little bit more expensive, and someone might say, oh, I love that, but I can't afford it. Where can I get it cheaper? And it's a tricky conversation, right? Because it's about understanding, again, I'm very much anything that I'm talking about online, I see the value in. So for me, it's sometimes like, well, actually, you can't get it cheaper, because what you're paying for is the cut, the quality, the thought that goes into it, the design process, the quality of manufacture. And when you say you can't afford it, what you mean is you don't see the value in it. Can you actually stop buying the $20 t-shirts from the cheaper shop and maybe save that $20 every month, and then at the end of 6 months buy that really good quality jacket? So it's actually about deciding where you spend your money. So some of us have more disposable income than less, but for someone to say, oh, I can't afford it, what they're really saying is, I don't see the value in it. And so I think if you really see the value in something, you'll work hard and not spend money frivolously on other stuff to buy that stuff. So buy the best that you can. Saying that, my favorite jeans are Kmart jeans. So not everything good has to be expensive. Value for money. Those jeans are 3 years old, because I bought them when I had my third child, and she's over 3. So they're 3 years old from Kmart. So good.
I guess it's also that conscious shopping. You're not being frivolous, and you're really thinking about what you want.
Yeah, and what's missing in your wardrobe. So actually being exactly like you said, being a conscious shopper and being really specific and really intentional. So for me, it's about promoting intentional shopping. So what's missing from your wardrobe? What will fill the gaps? What will give you more versatility in what's already in your wardrobe? So if you've got 3 blouses and no pants to wear them with, don't buy another blouse. Buy some pants that will make all those 3 blouses work really well.
Absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned Kmart jeans are your favorite, because when you're talking about them before, I was like, those are my favorite jeans.
Oh my gosh.
Comfortable. They get a little bit loose because they're kind of stretchy, but they are so comfortable, and they actually lasted so long. I bought a pair from JJ's. The stitching came out within a week. I took them back for another pair. The stitching for that one came out within a week, so I just restitched it in the end. Kmart was actually fantastic. Actually, my favorite shirt is from Kmart as well, and that's lasted me close to 10 years.
Yeah, things like denim. Denim is denim. Like, actually, like the construction of denim's just a cotton weave. So yes, there are like different like lycra levels. So the key with denim, and that's why the Kmart jeans that I've got are so good, because they're non-stretch. So the less elastane, the less elastane or lycra in a denim, the longer it will last, because elastane and nylons are really fine fiber. So you start to see it splitting, and that's where you get like the little furry bits. Like if you've got like jeggings and stuff and they stretched and they're puckered, that's the elastane in them. So if you have a more structured cotton only denim, it's got shape and structure, and it's actually like, denim was made to be durable. So I literally have 3 pairs of these same jeans, because they're just they're just so good, and they're just really durable. Like I said, they're 3 years old now and going strong.
Love
Oh, that's
that.
fantastic. I know we're close to finishing the interview, but I would love to know what's next for you now.
Oh, I kind of let the cat out of the bag earlier, but yeah, so this new role in designing Harry and Sam is huge for me and a really cool step in my business. Like I said, what it means though is it doesn't mean I'm not styling anymore, but it just feels like a really nice compliment. So having that option to understand what women really want and then also provide that for them is a really, really cool opportunity that I've got. For me, I mean, I've been a stylist for kind of close to 15 years now. So having a new challenge is really interesting. Like my brain's working in different ways, which is super cool, but I still get to do something. And again, like I was saying before, something that I thought I would never be able to do because I can't draw. So that's a really cool opportunity. I'm really excited about that. I'm super excited about just still working with people one-on-one. Like that's always going to be my my playground and where I get all my information, and it feeds me very much. Like just seeing the look on people's faces when they put something on they thought they couldn't wear and they understand that actually it really works for them is always really exciting too. So yeah, definitely the kind of the styling business is still there, but this new edition of designing for Harry and Sam is super exciting as well. My brain's a bit fried, but in a good way. There's a lot going on in there. Plus, 3 kids under 7. Nothing like keeping
and a
it.
cat, and a cat.
And there's 2 of them. There's 2 of them. Two
I
cats
hope
and a
the other
husband.
one's nicer than the
The other one's way nicer. Way nicer. Yeah. So it's definitely like life is definitely full. Super cool. Like I just love what I do, and I'm super lucky that I get to do it as well.
That passion just completely comes through when you're speaking as well.
Yeah.
It's just so nice to hear, and I could chat to you all day about fashion.
I get to dress ups for a living. Like every now and then I just literally pinch myself. I'm like, wait, what? You guys will let me like take you shopping and you pay me? Are you sure? Like it's a really,
I guess you won't
really
have to
cool
pay for
job.
therapy if you're getting retail therapy then.
Correct. And I'm getting retail therapy vicariously through others because I'm shopping and then spending their money. It's brilliant.
Speaking of styling people, if people are really interested in connecting in with you, where can they find you?
They can find me on the social medias. So Instagram and Facebook are both CaitlynTaylor.stylist. Or they can find me on my website, which is chasingkate.com, which is Kate, C-A-I-T, chasingkate.com, which was my old brand, just haven't changed it yet. But yeah, on the socials, all of the information, all the links and stuff are there as well.
Amazing. And I can vouch, I have been stalking your socials and I love your videos.
Oh, thanks.
So definitely follow. Oh, thank you so much for chatting with us. It was so good, and just I feel like I want to go shopping now and reevaluate my wardrobe.
Help you with that, yeah. Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks a million, Caitlin. It's been so good to talk.